Hello YouTube. If you make any of the following mistakes, you are sabotaging your progress as an English learner. Imagine learning English as if you are building a house from scratch. If you place a block in the wrong place, the whole house will fall apart. I am Zakaria, a linguistics student, and these are destructive mistakes that you will never progress if you keep committing. If you are passionate about language learning, this channel would be helpful because I will present the most practical, precious videos based on experience, studies, and statistics. So let's get started. The first mistake you need to avoid is worrying so much about grammar in your beginning. When I used to learn English by myself and before joining the university, I used to watch so many videos about grammar, and I was thinking that I am improving. For instance, I spent so much time trying to understand the slightest detail about the 12 tenses. Starting with complicated grammar not only slows you down, but it breaks your motivation and your will to study. Imagine English being a Ford car, and you want to learn how to ride this car. If you start by delving deeper into mechanics, like how the engine works and the brakes, this will overwhelm you. And not because these information aren't so helpful, but because you're so fresh to absorb such a complicated information. Also, this knowledge isn't mandatory for riding the car. Learning how to ride is the use, and this is what you need to care about in your beginning. The use is fluency and comfortability using the language, and the usage or grammar rules can come eventually when you are a good user. In my case, my hurriage to the usage was actually less effective, as after joining the university, I had to review most of what I have studied before, because basically I wasn't at a good position to understand such complexities before. Grammar can be naturally learned through exposure, and we can observe that from native speakers. They almost speak without mistakes, but the only difference is that they cannot explain why they used it in that way. For example, you will find them using the present perfect simple when talking about past experience, but they cannot justify why they used that specific tense. Grammar is time-consuming and not advisable to start with if your priority is fluency. There are a couple of studies to strengthen this point, such as the one conducted by the Taiwanese University. In the study were two separated groups. The first one had to start with grammar rules, delving deeper into each rule, and the other group had to study only by communicating and focusing more on fluency. At the end of this study, the results showed how the first group who started focusing on grammar showed better skills in grammar rules, but weaker communication skills. Meanwhile, the other group showed stronger communication skills and higher level of fluency. So, for the ordinary people, grammar shouldn't be prioritized unless you are aiming to take a test. In either way, it would be more efficient if you delay it. The second mistake that many learners commit is storing a bunch of vocabulary with no real context. What you need to understand is that the brain learns and remembers the language through connections. So, the more connections you create for a word through senses, emotions, situations, or related ideas, the stronger the memory becomes. This is how we have acquired our mother tongue. Our parents used to point at an object, let's say apple, and name it. This all creates connections in the brain. Then when you eat the apple, you create a feeling with that word. So when you are trying to remember a specific word and a connection fails, the other works as a retrieval connection. When some learners try to remember random words, it never works the same as when you learn it in a meaningful context. Language is a living being. It has its emotions, memories, and everything related to it. Moreover, when you learn a language the right way, creating memories and emotions, you reduce the possibility of forgetting words. From my previous experience, I couldn't expand my vocabulary and enhance my language proficiency until that I used the focused daily exposure. The first time you see a word, that may not grave it in the memory, but by daily repetition, you confront that word many times and it sticks with you. Focus more on an immersive approach and let the brain does its magic. The third mistake is for people who want to achieve a high level of mastery in the language, because even some non-native fluent people still commit this mistake. If you are learning English language, for instance, try to think directly in that specific language and avoid translating from your mother tongue. This issue seems simple, though it might be the most challenging one to get over. Even in our case as non-native English students, we might fall into this mistake. Note that there is a difference between beginners who make this mistake and fluent people. But let me tell you that it isn't good for both. For beginners, it takes so much time to find the exact specific word that you want to translate. Besides, it shows your communicator how your language skills are so weak, especially if you want to learn the language for professional settings. Hello, please, I want a charge. My phone is etan. How do I say etan? Okay, never mind. For some fluent people, the degree of harm isn't the same, but it's quite recognizable if you are exchanging with a proficient or native speaker, because you use sentences with correct grammar and seemingly clear message. However, the way you frame it may not seem natural. Thus, for someone to speak good usual language, try not to translate in your head. The question that arises here is, how can I solve this issue? Let me tell you that the solution is easy. Please don't say exposure, not again. You need more exposure. Read more books and watch videos from native content creators. Note that interaction is significant at this point. Either to a friend or by any method, try practicing the productive skills so that your brain can adapt and start thinking directly in the targeted language. I will probably make a full video examining this topic, how to think the language, and we will delve deeper into it as it is a multifaceted topic and there are so many areas to cover. Okay, at this point we have reached the end of this video. We explored 3 destructive mistakes capable of sabotaging your progress. If you feel like you have learned something from this video, make sure to subscribe because I will be presenting scientific and experience-based insights. That's it. Let's meet at the next video.